Week 1, the Bengals beat the Vikings 27-24 in overtime. It was a really fun game. Look, both teams had a shot to win in overtime. The Bengals had the ball 3 times. The Vikings had 2 possessions in overtime. I want to start with what I learned about the Cincinnati Bengals in this game. Number 1, Joe Burrow played very, very well. He limped a bit after getting sacked at one point, but he also had a play where he avoided a sack and spun out. So I thought early on his knee looked really, really good. I'm like, oh, hey, Joe Burrow is not going to struggle at all coming back. The limping later was a question mark, but overall, Joe Burrow played at a really, really high level. It was fun to watch. I love the guy. I love watching him do well. Literally, like, Joe Burrow only had 2 bad plays the entire game. They actually happened back-to-back. He had a play on a 2nd and 6 where he had Mike Thomas wide open, would have been a touchdown, but he threw an inaccurate throw, just missed him. It's like, ooh, that's not good. And then on the very next play, 3rd and 6, Joe Burrow threw a bad ball that bounced off of Vikings corner Mackenzie Alexander's helmet. I was like, oh, that should have been an interception. And instead of a pick, it actually bounced into his receiver's hands. Got lucky there. But other than those 2 plays, Joe Burrow literally had a perfect game. I loved watching it. I love seeing him do well. I really liked what Zach Taylor, the Bengals head coach, did. His play calling was really good. He's a former quarterback at Nebraska. I've got an open mind, as always. I try to like everybody I can, and I thought what he did week 1 was impressive, and I'm warming up to him. I thought it was a really hard matchup against, look, whether you love or hate Mike Zimmer, his defenses are always really good for Minnesota, and the game plan and the play design against Minnesota, a team that confuses young quarterbacks. They have great blitzes. They come after teams. I thought that Zach Taylor did a really good job combating the stuff that Mike Zimmer threw in against him with the Vikings defense. Now, Joe Mixon, the Bengals running back, was outstanding. He had 29 carries for 127 yards, a touchdown. He had 4.4 yards per carry. Joe Mixon was very, very impressive. Also, the Bengals defensive line deserves a shout-out. They have 3 new starters on their D-line. They have D-end Trey Hendrickson, D-tackle Larry Ogunjobi, and then they made a low-profile move before the season started in August for defensive tackle B.J. Hill. And those guys plus Sam Hubbard at D-end are a great group that really complement each other well. Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson coming off the edge really, it's a good dynamic that helps the interior defensive linemen succeed, and it caused problems for the Vikings offensive line all game long. Now, finally, I'm happy for Bengals rookie kicker Evan McPherson. This is how his first ever NFL game went. He was 3 for 3 kicking extra points. He had 2 field goals. He had the game winner in overtime. Really, really great day for him. It's just a fun aside, like, wow, what a great way to start your career if you're Evan McPherson. Very, very happy for him. Now, Patreon has 2 questions that I guess, what am I saying? Ben and Andrew wrote in on Patreon with 2 questions that I want to read. You can write in as well. Go to patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. Let me pull it up. Ben said, not a Bengals fan, but they looked good. Well-disciplined compared to Minnesota, who had a ton of holding penalties. Burrow kept them in the game, and Chase looked good. Fun overtime game that went down to the wire. Then Andrew replied to that. He said, I agree. He said, I disagree with Zach's take on the Bengals passing on Penei Sewell to take Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow were just special at LSU, and it looked like a generational quarterback-receiver relationship. The chemistry was always on sync. Burrow just always know what Chase is going to do. They had a needed offensive line, but so what? You don't pass on that level of receiver or tight end quarterback chemistry. They're like Brady and Gronk, Rodgers and Jordy Nelson, or Mahomes and Kelsey. They were meant to be reunited. There will always be other linemen. One of the few times you just have to go with your heart over your head. Look, I was really skeptical of the Jamar Chase draft pick when they picked him over left tackle Penei Sewell, because, look, you can always use a left tackle. I think that's you never pass on a guy who's a surefire, really good left tackle. But I will say, man, Jamar Chase had a big impact week 1. He had 5 catches for 101 yards and a touchdown. And frankly, Jamar Chase was a big reason why the Bengals won. And so after 1 week, it already looks like Cincinnati drafted the right guy by drafting Jamar Chase. And that makes me, I was skeptical, but being able to say that makes me very, very happy. Now, Minnesota, week 1 in the loss to Cincinnati, the Vikings offensive line, they were a problem. Minnesota had 12 penalties in this game. 11 of them were on offense. and 9 of them were on their offensive line. That is awful. Like, yikes. That just cannot happen with your offensive line. They are a big concern moving forward. Not only their ability to block concerns me, but also their lack of discipline is a huge, huge problem that's going to hinder Minnesota all year long if they don't clean that up. Now, Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins played pretty well. Nothing like amazing, but definitely had a good game. Big shout out to the Vikings second-year receiver, though. KJ Osborne is a guy who I knew Adam Thielen was good. I knew that Justin Jefferson was a stud. But KJ Osborne, a second-year receiver in Minnesota, might have a breakout year. He had 7 catches for 76 yards and multiple catches in big moments. He had one on a 4th and 1. Like, he made some big plays. And listen, that KJ Osborne is a name maybe you should pay attention to and maybe learn, because he had a really, really good game week 1 against Cincinnati. Now, I feel bad for Dalvin Cook, the Vikings running back. Week 1, his game was tainted by a fumble in overtime, and I'm honestly not even sure it was actually a fumble. To me, it looked like he was down, and then the ball got ripped out. But it was ruled a fumble on the field, which means that in the, when you review it, you have to have enough evidence to overturn that it wasn't actually a fumble, and there wasn't enough evidence. It's very brutal. It's like, I think Dalvin Cook kind of got screwed, quite frankly, and along with the Minnesota, but really Dalvin Cook is a guy who has to bear the brunt of that, that loss because of the, quote, fumble that he had at the end of overtime. I actually want to take a left turn here and praise Dalvin Cook. I thought blocking did really good all game. I think Dalvin Cook is a supremely underrated running back who does really, really fantastic professional level work. And he had this touchdown run on the goal line where he made it look so easy. And people, I think, look at what Dalvin Cook can do. And because he makes it look so easy, it's easy to overlook him and not appreciate what he does. But his vision is incredible. And he made a good cut inside where the Bengals had defenders in the backfield, and he just went, whoop, cut inside, and other running backs might have gotten stopped in the backfield, but not him. Instead of getting tackled for loss, Dalvin Cook turned it into a touchdown. It was a great run on 1st and goal. It's little things like that Dalvin Cook does over and over again that I really, really appreciate and make him a very special running back. Also, shout out to the Vikings' new kicker, Greg Joseph. He made it the game-tying field goal. He kicked it not once, but 2 different times at the end of regulation. The first time he kicked it, Cincinnati called a field goal trying to ice him. But hey, look, Greg Joseph was totally unbothered. I really respected that. He kicked it again and made the 53-yard field goal 2 times in a row. That's really good kicking. And if you're a Vikings fan, you know that is something their team needs. And so I look at Greg Joseph, a guy who, ice cold veins of steel, just kicking a 53-yard field goal 2 times in a row, not bothered at all by the situation or the timeout or any of that stuff. I think that's exactly what the Vikings need from their kicker. And I'm really excited about Greg Joseph, their new guy, because the dude looked really, really good week 1.